Hello, sweet friends. Welcome back for another chapter in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The last time we read together in our book, we were on chapter 22, and they had been going down the corridors, looking at all these cool doors like the marshmallow pillows. They had seen a room that was called, let me look back. It's always a good thing to do that in a story. Oh, lickable wallpaper for nurseries where you could lick the fruit and it tasted like that. Interesting, cool, and gross at the same time. Cows that give chocolate milk. We kind of wondered how that could happen. Fizzy lifting drinks, right? So they're running along, but they don't go in any of these rooms. Finally, they stop at a door, and it's called Square Sweets That Look Round. That gives you a clue. So we were wondering, what in the world could that be? Now, also, remember, we only have Charlie Bucket, Veruca Salt, and Mikey TV left. Those are our only three friends. Remember, Augustus Gloop fell in the chocolate river, got sucked up the pipe. They had to go get him out of the fudge room. And Violet Beauregard chewed that three-course meal gum. And when she got to the blueberry pie at the end, she swole up like a giant blueberry. And they had to roll her down to the juicing room. So they are on foot because they used the boat to get Violet where she needed to go. Now we are in chapter 23, Square Sweets That Look Round. Everybody stopped and crowded at the door. The top half of the door was made of glass. Grandpa Joe lifted Charlie up so that he could get a better view. And looking in, Charlie saw a long table, and on the table there were rows and rows of small, white, square-shaped sweets. The sweets looked very much like square sugar lumps, except that each one of them had a funny little pink face painted on one side. At the end of the table, a number of Oompa Loompas were busy painting more faces on more sweets. "There you are," cried Mr. Wonka, "square sweets that look round." "They don't look round to me," said Mikey TV. "They look square," said Veruca Salt. "They look completely square." "But they are square," said Mr. Wonka. "I never said they weren't." "You said they were round," said Veruca Salt. "I never said any sort of thing like that," said Mr. Wonka. "I said they looked round." "But they don't look round," said Veruca Salt. "They look square." "They look round," insisted Mr. Wonka. "They most certainly do not look round," said Veruca Salt. "Veruca, darling," said Mrs. Salt, "pay no attention to Mr. Wonka. He's lying to you." "My dear old fish," said Mr. Wonka, "go and boil your head." "How dare you speak to me like that?" shouted Mrs. Salt. "Oh, do be quiet," said Mr. Wonka. "Now watch this." He took a key from his pocket and unlocked the door, flung it open, and suddenly, at the sound of the door opening, all the rows of little square sweets looked quickly round to see who was coming in. The tiny faces actually turned toward the door and stared at Mr. Wonka. "There you are," he cried triumphantly. "They're looking round. There's no argument about it. These are square sweets that look round." "By golly, he's right," said Grandpa Joe. "Come on," said Mr. Wonka, starting off down the corridor again. "On we go. We mustn't dawdle." "Butterscotch and butter gin," it said on the next door as they passed. "Now that sounds a bit more interesting," said Mr. Salt, Veruca's father. "Glorious stuff," said Mr. Wonka. "The Oompa Loompas all adore it. It makes them tiddly. Listen, you can hear them in there now, whooping it up." Shrieks of laughter and snatches of singing could be heard coming through the closed door. "They're drinking butterscotch and soda. They like that best of all. Butter gin and tonic is also very popular. Follow me, please. We really mustn't keep stopping like this," said Mr. Wonka. He turned left. He turned right. They came to a long flight of stairs. Mr. Wonka slid down the banisters. The three children did the same. Mrs. Salt and Mrs. TV, the only women now left in the party, were getting very out of breath. Mrs. Salt was a great fat creature with short legs, and she was blowing like a rhinoceros. "This way!" cried Mr. Wonka, turning left at the bottom of the stairs. "Go slower!" panted Mrs. Salt. "Impossible," said Mr. Wonka. "We should never get there in time if I went any slower." "Get where?" asked Veruca Salt. "Never you mind," said Mr. Wonka. "You just wait and see." So, did they go in the room of square sweets that look round? Does that name kind of confuse your brain, thinking square, round, square, round? But he was actually saying the sweets would look around until they found the noise. Now, how would you feel if you walked into a candy store and when the bell went ding ding when you walked in, the faces on the candy suddenly looked straight at you? Would you be able to eat a piece of candy that was looking at you? I don't know if I could do that or not. I would feel like I would need to treat it more like a pet and not like food if it was looking at me. It's very interesting. He did not talk about how people eat them. He simply said, it's very cool that there's square sweets that look round with their eyeballs, right? So, they are off down the corridor. They have gone down some stairs. Mr. Wonka is moving very fast. Mrs. Salt and Mrs. TV are both going, slow down, slow down. They're having a very hard time keeping up. But Mr. Wonka says if they go any slower, they will never get to see the rest of the things he wants to show them. This was a short chapter. The next chapter is longer, but you will have to wait for that one. It's chapter 24, by the way, and it is called Veruca in the Nut Room. Now, usually in the past, when we have had titles with a character's name in it, that usually means that character is headed into some form of trouble. So we will have to wait till next time to find out what happens to Veruca in the Nut Room. Well, I hope you enjoyed our short chapter today in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I hope you tune in next time so you can hear what happens in the Nut Room and with Veruca. All right, friends, I hope you have a great day. Try to find something fun to do inside since it's raining. I will read to you guys again soon. Bye.